हेलो।
वो क्या कहता है?
Sure. Hello.
Good afternoon, everybody. The minister is on her way. The event will start shortly. I request you all to mute your mobile phones. This is to prevent background noises and disturbances during the event. Am I audible? I request all of you to please mute your mobile phones if you haven't done so. Good afternoon. I request you all to mute your mobile phones if you haven't already done so. Thank you. Fine. Fine. Okay. Am I audible to the people at the back? Loud and clear? No, I'm not audible. Am I audible now? Yes, please be quiet so that I will be audible. Please be silent. I think she's almost here. Ladies and gentlemen, the Honorable Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs has arrived. I request you all to please rise and welcome her with a round of applause. We have with us our chief guest, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, Union Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs. It is an honor and privilege to have you here, ma'am. The other dignitaries on the dais are Professor Shripad Karmalkar, Director, IIT Bhubaneswar, and Professor P.V. Satyam, Dean of Student Affairs, IIT Bhubaneswar. Good afternoon, everybody. We will commence the proceedings with the Vande Mataram. I request you all to please rise.
Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Sujalam, Sufalam, Malayaj Shitalam, Sasya Shamalam, Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram, Suprajosna Pulakitayamini, Ullakusumita Drumadala Shobhini, Subhasini, Sumadhura Bhasini, Sukhalam Varadam Mataram, Vande Mataram, Vande Mataram.
Please be seated. We are privileged and honored to have the Minister of Finance and Corporate Affairs, Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman, here at IIT Bhubaneswar. On behalf of the students, faculty, and staff, we welcome you, ma'am. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ashna Jacob, faculty, School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Management. On behalf of IIT Bhubaneswar, I welcome you all to this event titled Youth and Innovation, Propellers of India's Economic Growth in the Amrit Kal. India has a population of over 1.3 billion, with more than 50% of that population below the age of 25. This holds immense potential to shape the country's future. The youth of India are redefining the country's economic and social landscape with innovative ideas and ventures. They are leveraging technology to create job opportunities, propose solutions to societal issues, and enhance standard of living. They are the driving force behind the country's economic growth. It is crucial, therefore, to create an environment that nurtures and supports young innovators and entrepreneurs. And the government, industries, and society must work together to ensure this. It is in such an environment that India will thrive in the Amrit Kal and create a brighter future for generations to come. It is in this context that this event is titled Youth and Innovation, Propellers of India's Economic Growth in the Amrit Kal. To start us off on an auspicious note, we will begin with the lighting of the lamp. I request the dignitaries on the dais to please do the honors. I request you all to please rise.
Normally lamp lighting also this time.
Please be seated. I now request our director, Professor Shripad Karmalkar, to welcome the gathering.
I warmly welcome our Honorable Union Minister, Nirmala Sitharaman ji. I'll briefly introduce our institute and its innovation activities. Our institute was established in 2008. Its present campus of 3.8 kilometer square area is located at the base of the historic Barunai Hillock. It was dedicated to the nation by our PM Narendra Modi ji in December 2018. The campus is known for its outstanding landscapes. Its large number of flower and fruit trees create an eco-friendly environment and attract exotic birds. The institute has more than 160 regular faculty, 100 non-teaching staff, 34 adjunct faculty from renowned foreign and Indian institutes. There are over 3,000 students, with 14% pursuing PhD, 17% pursuing masters, 17% dual degree, and 52% BTech. Since its inception, the institute has been following holistic and multidisciplinary education emphasized in the recent National Education Policy 2020. Thus, the institute is organized along schools rather than departments. For example, the School of Electrical Sciences includes departments such as electrical engineering, electronics and communication engineering, and computer science and engineering. Similarly, the School of Basic Sciences combines maths, physics, chemistry, and biology. We also have a School of Earth, Ocean, and Climate Sciences also. Presently, our institute offers a range of cutting-edge technology courses in artificial intelligence, data science, nanoscience, and augmented and virtual reality. Since inception, our faculty and students have published about 5,000 research papers and filed 50 patent applications. Madam, our institute is second generation. I come from a first generation institute, that is IIT Madras. So last year, the institute received funding for more than 110 sponsored research and consultancy projects. Some notable industry, academia collaborations and R&D initiatives are World Bank assisted program on rejuvenating watersheds for agricultural resilience through innovative development. Virtual and Augmented Reality Center of Excellence, which is a unique center of its kind in the country that has sanctioned 9 R&D projects. Similarly, there are 6 projects under the Impacting Research, Innovation and Technology scheme. The institute is actively engaged in collaborative research with many reputed universities and organizations across the world. The institute has an active startup center and research entrepreneurship park. It organizes workshops on how to start an enterprise. The recent one was attended by more than 1,000 participants. It also has an yearly summit wherein guest talks, competitions, workshops, internship fair, and investors help the participants bring their entrepreneurial skills. The recent edition of the summit was attended by more than 2,000 participants from colleges of Odisha and other states. The park has a technology incubation center which supports students and faculty members in prototype development. 4 projects of this center are completed. 3 of these are in application of IoT for smart homes, power quality monitoring, and health monitoring. The 4th was on biogas production from bio-waste produced in IIT hostel kitchens. Finally, the park has supported the development of over 50 startups and incubated around 20 startups. 2 promising startups in the electric vehicle and digital communications field are being mentored and supported, while 11 startups in the AR/VR domain are in the process of being incubated. The center is being modernized with state-of-the-art facilities. With that brief introduction about the Institute and innovation, I welcome you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We will now move on to the introduction of the chief guest. I call upon Professor P.V. Satyam, Dean of Student Affairs, to introduce our esteemed guest to the gathering.
Good afternoon. Actually, we don't need a really introduction to Srimati Nirmala Sitharamanji, because the kind of popularity you see here, there's no need. But for the formality's sake, I do that one. Srimati Nirmala Sitharaman was born 18th August 1959 in Madurai, Tamil Nadu, to Srimati Savitri and K. Sitharamji Raman. She completed her bachelor's from Sita Lakshmi Ramaswamy College in Tiruchirappalli and master's in economics from Jawaharlal Nehru University. After submitting her doctoral thesis on Indo-European textile trade, she moved to London and worked as senior manager in Price Waterhouse, London. During her stay in London, she also worked briefly for BBC World Services. Post her return to India, she was taken on working forward, institutionalizing policy analysis in India, and therefore established a center for public policy studies in Hyderabad in 1992. In 1997, she established Pranavad, a school in Hyderabad that won the British Council's International School Award for its unconventional approach to education that prioritized giving shape to a child's inherent talent over conventional learn and rote system. Actually, if you see that NEP policy is almost towards that. It was much before that it was done here. From 2003 to 5, she served as a member of the National Commission for Women and in 2008, she was invited to become a member of the BJP National Executive. In 2010, Srimati Sitharaman was appointed as the national spokesperson of the party. During the Gujarat Assembly elections in 2012, Srimati Sitharaman worked directly under the leadership of Sri Narendra Modi, wherein she was given the responsibility of organizing BJP's media campaign for elections. After the historic victory of BJP in general elections, 2014, she was inducted into the Council of Ministers and she held the charge of Minister of State for Commerce and Industry. On 3rd September 2017, she became the first full-time Women Defence Minister of India. In 2019, Nirmala Sitharaman has been given the responsibility of the Finance and Corporate Affairs Minister of India. She has presented 5 annual budget of India as of 2023. India reached the mark of a US $3.1 trillion economy under her leadership. More to it, from our IIT fraternity, we would like to see our country reaching $5 trillion US economy under her leadership. The Jawaharlal Nehru University conferred on her the Distinguished Alumni Award in 2019. Forbes magazine has ranked her 34th amongst the 100 most powerful women in the world in 2019. It is my privilege and honor to request our chief guest to address the gathering. Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much, the Dean of this IIT and also the Director who gave me an introduction to the IIT Bhubaneswar. There's a lot said about youth, innovation, and the topic too. I was just gently reminded that youth and innovation are going to be the propellers of India's economic growth. I thought it was stating the obvious, and to have me elaborate on it would be a very difficult task, especially because even though there were policies even earlier, and there were very many attempts from the youth of India since, I would think, distinctly after 1991, when the youth of India saw a possibility of contributing to the Indian economy directly because prospects opened up. But somewhere on the course after 1991, for various reasons, I think the environment was not so conducive, and many of our youth, like the youth before 91, saw prospects being elsewhere. And the contribution, however distant or tenuous it was, kept happening from Indians living abroad and contributing majorly to science and technology. But I would think since after 2016, when the stated policy for promoting and actively encouraging startups, we see the energy back again among the youth of India to see that it is possible to be here and it is possible to carry on with those kind of thoughts and ideas that the youth want to see bloom and also find strikingly good scale-up propositions. So I see between 2016 and distinctly till 2021, a ramped up energy working in the youth of India, because anytime prospects are being looked at, there are two types of prospects we are talking about. One at a personal level, where somebody who wants to contribute to the Indian economy, in the sense wants to make a good career for herself or himself, sees the system, the governance, and also the way in which institutions function as one of the very important instrument with which you think you can either be here and do things or be somewhere else and do things and so on. So the prospect at a personal level for your careers to work out. The next would be, which is equally what you would take on board while making a decision, is the prospects which come out of policies which are either enabling or which are deterrent for good ideas to work out. So when you saw the latter in the opening of Indian economy in 1991, individuals who had the propensity to really contribute thought, yes, a lot of things are happening in India, and there was this hope which was working out. But as I said, as we went along, somewhere some kind of hindrances came and the same prospects didn't appear, although personally you thought your career could be built on those fantastic thoughts and ideas which you wanted to bloom with. But post 2016, when the policy was distinctly made for startups, and the government was actively engaged with the state governments as well to open up and to help out, that kind of a prospect came back to individuals. So both your personal career choices and also the way in which governments were enabling and facilitating youth to be here, do things, and in the sense of getting the commercial prospects also added into it. Your thought remains just as a thought, or you're able to come out with a thought to bloom, and then you're looking at the ways in which governments help to scale it up or to find funders or people who can quickly take your patents, which includes therefore even things which are normally very distant for the lay administration, as patents, your ideas getting registered, getting the approval, the trademarks, the patents are all important instruments or step in the way in which you can move forward. So the simultaneous with 2016 development of ideas for bringing startups to flourish in India, where the policies on intellectual property, the ways in which we wanted to have that simplified, the long waiting lists that always deterred people from applying for patent rights here were all eased out. And there were immense data which I periodically used to show how the waiting list on patent registration has been brought down. So these are enablers which made the entire ecosystem a lot more easier, friendlier, and as much as you can achieve by being outside, you're able to achieve by being within the country. So not just a policy to facilitate, not just funds which can be used for leveraging, fund from the market, funds which can be given for startups at the initial stage as they progress further. So the entire, and also when the Honorable Prime Minister goes outside of the country to talk with governments outside, to see if their young will work together with our youth and to come to an understanding and have that bilateral understanding with countries. I distinctly remember having accompanied the Honorable Prime Minister in one of his visits to Germany, where the German youth and the startups there, who were very much powerhouse of the German policy making, we had agreed with them that they would have an exchange program and also will collectively and jointly take up challenges which are thrown for solutions that so much the industry or agriculture or any sector would want. Such kind of arrangements with the countries with whom we have bilateral relationship. The one another which I can recall, which I think immense potential even today, even as it works, is the one with Israel, the kind of understanding that we had with them. Because in promoting startups, in promoting and identifying talent, in promoting and identifying at the same time sharing of thoughts, in distinctly recognizing excellence in students, Israel was quite advanced when in comparison to ours. And they have been, I think, more than 2 times, Honorable Prime Minister, raising this issue with Israel, and they have also come forward to work with Indians. So Germany or Israel are 2 concrete examples I'm putting before you, where not just policies within the country, but also having understanding with our friendly countries have opened up possibilities for the young. Now, all this is all policy and enablers that we are bringing into the system. The taxation related matters, every budget I have, at least on the inputs received from people who work actively with the startups, have come to tell us about, you should relax on this, on the funders or on the startups themselves. So even that, at every stage in every budget, we have made provisions to make it easier, facilitate it, and also make sure it becomes attractive for PE, private equity funds, to come to India to invest. So I'm just marking those pillars which are very important for us in this course of optimizing what youth can do with the innovative thoughts with which they can work. And for that, because their energies will rightly have to go towards the core idea of working with some innovative thought, and they shouldn't be made to run from pillar to post to search for funds or certification or clearances and so on. The environment has been so created in India that you would possibly be only applying your mind on the core activity, which is the innovative activity in which you should rightly be working. So if this is about the government, and in the last 2-3 years, the well-known statistics, which I'll just as a point of reference leave before you, is the startup world, which is widening. About 87,000 of them have got the approval from the Department of Industrial Policy and Internal Trade. They are the ones to certify who the authorized or certified startups are. And from among them, they are the ones who also choose as to who are the ones to get XYZ certification for any other purpose in order to receive greater funds. Even with this, as we say, it sounds as if, oh, it's back again the same regime where you have to get certification and so on. It's not that. Otherwise, more than 100 startups wouldn't have become unicorns within a matter of, say, 5 to 6 years. So there is an active encouragement happening as well. I'm just touching upon issues broadly from the government's point of view. We, in the meanwhile, are enabling pharmaceutical sector, biomedical sector. Under that, you have the vaccines and other areas. Even otherwise, you've heard a lot about how government is trying to use technology in areas in which technology has not even entered, whether it is agriculture or in defense, space. Indian youth have proved that the moment the doors were opened for them to come up and work with the space sector in India, you have satellites being launched which are designed and also purpose-driven, tailor-made for some specific causes, all designed by Young of India. So I'm just giving you a broad sketch, but I suppose when we have the question and answer, we'll be able to talk more specifically on particular things of interest for all of you all. But let me first say, I'm very motivated and impressed to see this gathering. I'm sure you are otherwise tied to your labs. You're otherwise tied to your labs or some paper that you have to write and so on. And also I was very impressed by the fact that although it is only from 2018 you are in this campus, and prior to that from 2008 itself classes have been happening in the name of IIT Bhubaneswar, the number of papers that you have published actually shows the rigor of academia which is actually existing in this campus. Indian science and technology graduates, also I broadly use science and technology, engineering, medicine, all of them together, have really won the, or I can put it this way, have really attracted serious academics all over the world only because of the academic rigor. You're not in IITs for the rote business. You're not in the IITs for just doing good work to get a good certificate, a good grade and get out. In the meanwhile, I'm indeed impressed that you have your faculty extracting that much and more from you so that you realize what it takes to be in this area, what it takes to be recognized in this area. And most of your peers who have all gone to different parts of the world, and your seniors who are in some of the most covetous positions, have not been there or have not reached there for nothing. It is that kind of academic rigor. It is that kind of, if I can say, sweat and toil in your academic work. And it is that kind of guidance that you get from your teachers, all of which makes that, that cocktail, if I can use that word, that potion, if you're all Asterix followers, that potion which is made, which actually gives you that, cutting edge compared to any other student from any other part of the world. So it is that potion which you have to ready with the right mixture of knowledge, with the right mixture of correction, course corrections, experiments, and so on. It is that which is so required with your work. So I'm sure you're using every minute of your time in this institute to ready yourself to meet the challenges of the world. You have ever so many icons who have passed out of such institutions. So do make the most of your time here. India needs all of your expertise, the energy, and India actually can contribute not just for India, but for the entire world. And I'm not exaggerating in this, the entire world. The youth with that kind of skill sets and readiness to go through the mill to prove their professional credibility is largely in India. And that's where you're going to have an advantage compared to the rest of them found anywhere else in the world. So all the very best for you all. Thank you for coming here, being in this number to listen.
Thank you, ma'am, for that inspiring and insightful speech. Also, thank you for commending our achievements. We will now have an interactive session with the Honorable Minister. A lot of students of IIT Bhubaneswar had expressed interest to ask questions to the Minister. I will call upon the students one by one. Please put forward your questions. First, we have Aditya, a first-year student of BTech Metallurgical Engineering.
Jain ma'am, my question is that in many instances, double taxation avoidance agreement has been misused for money laundering purposes. So what are the measures being taken by the government to prevent it?
Hello.
Please sit. IIT Bhubaneswar starts with money laundering. And that too a first-year student. Very nice. The double taxation avoidance agreement are done with countries so that we first notice, the issue of tax is not always that you're taxed here, you're also taxed in the country where you're registered, and you could end up paying two taxes on a same head or on a same claim, is the one which leads to thinking about double taxation avoidance agreements. But because taxpayers, not just in this country, everywhere in the world, are smarter than the governments, they always come up with the ways of, yes, we shouldn't pay two taxes, meaning we shouldn't be doubly taxed for the same thing, but we are smart enough not to pay it in either of the place. We end up paying no tax at all. That kind of situations also do occur. So this agreement is one of the very good tools through which we make sure that we don't have tax not being paid in any one destination kind of a situation. But oftentimes we also have to work to understand that nobody goes away without paying tax at all. The global taxation agreement also, which came about in the G20 as regards large corporates which are operating irrespective of the borders, which is normally the electronic e-marketing companies. So no longer is it just the issue of getting doubly taxed for the same item. It's also the question of total avoidance of tax. Also, when you're in a tech platform, you end up saying, yes, my revenue is generated here, but my headquarters is somewhere else. So I don't need to pay anything here at all. I pay whatever I need to pay there. And that tax there is absolutely minimum because they locate themselves in such areas where the tax burden is far lesser. So this issue of tax and the question of money laundering and also the question of drug being trafficked with the funds which are coming from not identifiable source are all interwoven. So there is a lot of work happening there, and there is also what I can call as a mission, which is looking at terror funding, FATF, which is now many countries are members to it. So they also look at financing of terrorist activities and any other unlawful activities through that law. And there's an international body which looks at country by country cases. They profile countries, and they also say about where you have to bring in more laws to be compliant with what is happening abroad, so that collectively all countries can identify those countries which get grey listed or blacklisted because they don't comply in stopping terror funding. So there are lots of activities going on in this area.
Next we have Ritika Reddy, second year student of mechanical engineering.
Good afternoon, ma'am. So, ma'am, will we be able to become the world's largest economy in the upcoming 10 years?
Don't mind me saying this. It depends on all of y'all.
Okay, next we have Raju Dhuli, a PhD scholar from the School of Humanities, Social Sciences and Management.
Hello. A very good afternoon, madam. First of all, welcome to IIT Bhubaneswar, madam. We all feel privileged and happy to have you sharing this afternoon with you. And my question is to you is that there is a gap between the demand and supply of highly skilled tech talent in India. So a proper training is immediate need of the hour to create a world-class workforce. So what opportunities does the union budget
out of school who needs to find a job? And later, for those who have already been in some kind of job somewhere, giving them skills so that even as they approach their middle ages, they will be better skilled to find a better job which gives them better pay. But even more important, and a specific mention which has been made in this budget, is for providing skill sets and therefore the training adequate for that for Industry 4.0, which means even as our industries are expanding in the areas in which they are already there, but they are expanding to bring in technology, also to bring in technology which will make them green compliant. There are now severe shortage of people who are such skilled young people who can be recruited for the expansion as well as for bringing technology under Web3 and many other things, artificial intelligence and so on, equally also to have that awareness that using technology, we need to now greater and greater become green compliant. So this budget provides for skilling, upskilling. It also provides for specific skilling for Industry 4.0. And the last one I would add here is that we've also marked 3 maybe IITs, centers of excellence for researching into and also getting products out on artificial intelligence. We want India to become the artificial intelligence hub for the world, and therefore these three centers, I don't know, maybe Bhubaneswar, maybe one other IIT, the three centers of excellence which will focus on AI. So we've openly said, make in India, make AI as India as a hub, and also make with AI for the world. So these are the specific opportunities which I would like to give you in response.
Next, we have Aryush, first year student of metallurgical engineering.
Good evening, ma'am. My name is Ayush Tripathi and I'm a first year student of metallurgical engineering branch. My question to you is that with the successful implementation of schemes like roads and modern houses and bank accounts for every family, what is the next big thing that the Indian government wants every family to have?
Well, have opportunities, I suppose. The next thing would be, one, we have, please sit down. The next thing is having given, I'm saying having given in a broad sense, yes, we need to reach saturation in many of the schemes, which whether it's for housing or sanitation or bank account for schemes which will give them collateral free loans and so on. Over and above that, I think now the opportunities that are available for their family, every member of their family, either within the rural or the urban area where they live or elsewhere in the country, are all got to be now so openly available as information so that they can choose. That is why in many of the areas we are now very clearly giving through digital mode, of course available on your phone, about the markets, about the opportunities, about whether it is in agriculture, whether it is in industry, whether it's also opportunities which they want to do it for themselves. One other thing which I missed out on saying is we are also creating, it just passed my mind, I'm moving from one to the other. So let me recall that one. We are also creating opportunities for youth through the clusters which are prevalent in different industrial towns. Like for instance, if it is Ludhiana or if it is Coimbatore or if it is Aurangabad, there are industries which are all available in and around those towns. Now they have industry associations. Now these associations also together, if they need about 100 people per year, we through the government are helping them to train 500 people instead of 100. So for instance, if they were to recruit 100, the rest 400 will be available to take jobs anywhere else in the country. So training together with opportunities is what we want to give them as the next stage.
Next, we have Sushruta, a second year BTech student from electrical engineering.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My question to you is, what is the government's plan to incentivize the private sector to increase their spending on research and development?
Well, first thing, I think this time, at least for pharma sector and for related areas, we have opened up the government labs to be available even for private scholars or private industry which wants to sponsor a study in a particular area of their interest. So we are making the public research centers also be available for industry, through which if they are able to work initially as a cluster or as a group, they may want to invest in particular areas of research. I know in biomedical area in Bengaluru, there is a big institutional arrangement largely funded by the private sector entrepreneurs, which is going into seeing how medicine can be taken into villages and what are the kind of interventions which they have to make from their side. So it's already happening in some areas, but some other areas will also have to be given that facilitation.
Next, we have Prashant Singh, a first year student of MTech, manufacturing engineering.
Good afternoon, ma'am. My question was that, ma'am, recently the government of India has released the annual financial statement that we call it as budget. But, ma'am, in that budget, ma'am, there is a deduction of 8% for the Department of Space as compared to the previous budget. So, ma'am, don't you feel, ma'am, that several youth, ma'am, of our nation want to join this renowned organization like ISRO, but it creates a negative impact on our youth and the research. This cut in the this deduction in the budget of 8% in the department.
8% of what? What is that 8%?
Sir, 8% as in previous budget, the Department of Space has a allocation of funds around 30,700 crore, and this year it was 12,543 crore.
I don't know if it is because any particular project that they were undertaking, for instance, installing a certain capacity for which they needed funds of certain extent, which was all provided till last year, and probably that project is now complete and it doesn't further require for that specific project, and therefore that would come down. But that doesn't mean their whole ministry's budget has been brought down. Specific projects which are time bound would have got completed, which is good, and therefore that would have been reduced. But it is not as if we've taken an approach of, cut down on space. We are giving a facilitating policy, but we won't give money. No, that's not the criteria.
Thank you.
Next, we have Sai Gokul, third year student of BTech Mechanical Engineering.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I just wanted to know, where do you think India stands in comparison to countries like China when it comes to core engineering and manufacturing sector? And also, does the new budget help boost the manufacturing sector in India?
The new budget and also the one earlier and the one earlier too are very supportive of manufacturing in India. And that is why we've come up even with PLI, production-linked incentive schemes for industry to start manufacturing, and that's purely for manufacturing sector. Manufacturing activities in any of the sectors. And in that, we are looking at 13, 14, now probably expanding to 15 champion sectors. So these PLIs are not given for every sector. They are given for identified champion sectors, which are also sunrise areas in which India's production will have to become a lot more expansive. So those sectors are essentially in the sunrise areas, so that areas in which India has to ramp up both production and also capacity for reducing our imports and also to export, all put together for those 13, 14, 15 sectors we have identified. Now, what are these sectors, which I'm sure many of you are already familiar with? They are renewable energy related, chip manufacturing related, areas which essentially till now we had depended on some other country and didn't have the capacity to produce within the country. Now, pharma sector is one such a thing. In the pharma sector, of course, there is a uniqueness because India was the leading manufacturer of the API, meaning active pharmaceutical ingredients, which are essential key material for producing medicines. Now, we were very good and advanced in API production. But because of the predatory pricing of particularly one country, gradually our APIs became non-competitive. You were always far higher in your cost of production than from where it was coming from. So many of them were either taken over or shut shop. Now we are bringing them back again. So Sunrise is also some of these which are going to have to be strengthened for India to be self-reliant. So yes, we are doing all this. Now, if you ask me to compare with China for manufacturing, there are still a lot of way for us to improve. We need to expand into areas into which we have not till now. For various reasons, I'm not going to pick on each one of the reasons. there are areas in which we need to really go forward and speedily at that.
Next, we have Rishita, a third-year student of BTech Computer Science Engineering.
Good evening, ma'am. My question to you is that there is a recent research suggesting that weak protection of intellectual property rights leads to low returns in innovation. And India is standing in 43rd position out of 55 nations in this regard. So what is the government's plan to improve our ranking?
Well, I'm not sure about the ranking per se, but to improve us and improve our position in terms of intellectual property, I broadly refer to it in my opening statement. We are actually spending a lot of time and money to help innovators be able to register. In fact, for startups, there are tax concessions given. For startups to register their patents, we even probably cut down on, my number may be wrong, 50% of the fee that is required to pay for registration, and also making sure that there are enough number of registrar of patents office in the country so that people can register as many, and they're all online now. The steps taken also to make sure that the waiting list is cut down for disputes which arise out of patents and misuse or any other issues. There are special benches which are created in the courts, and Delhi High Court has done phenomenal work in this. Delhi High Court is now the lead bench finally, where issues related to patents can be taken up. There is a committee of judges who are looking at this. They are setting up benches in 1 or 2 parts of the country. So speeding up on dispute resolution which arise out of patents is one of the very important areas, so that everyday loss is a loss for the patent holder. So we don't want anything to hurt patent holders, and therefore the judiciary is actively gone ahead facilitating this process. And the work continues. It's not as if we've done and we're sitting and watching it. We are still actively engaged in meaningfully making it simpler and speedier.
Next, we have Rahul Shukla, first-year student of MTech Environmental Engineering.
My question for you is that there is such a decline in the core engineering branches such as civil and mechanical engineering. Students are hesitating to take admission in these branches. Don't you think government should come up with a plan to give boost to these core engineering branches?
How many of you all here are mechanical and civil engineering people? Turn around and see. Did you all get any incentive? No. But still. So I don't know. You probably have some reason for saying what you're saying. And I also probably will be with you on that, because even I've heard this in the sense everybody is rushing to computer, electronics and so on. But this room disproves it. So let's see if you have some thoughts for what kind of incentives you want for more people to do mechanical and civil. Do give me your thoughts, honestly. Write to me, send it to me via email or anything. You probably had this thought for some reason. Let me know the reason. Thank you.
Next, we have Shivam Singh, a third-year student of BTech Civil Engineering.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm myself Shivam Singh. My question is based on a few facts. As per NITI Aayog, in India, the research and development expenditure is lowest in the world. Okay. As per NSO report, there is 7% unemployment rate. And in 2022, some 5,800 startups had been axed. And in the Human Development Index, India ranks at 129 out of 160 something countries. So have we failed to reap the demographic dividends in our nation?
I think your question, and not so much what went before it, your question is a very critical question. I grant that. It's a very important question. And it's not so much to answer it, but it's so much for us to keep reminding ourselves about that question, so that every time some decision of the government is taken, that should be in the back of our minds. I fully grant that. But the factors you're bringing in are very important factors. But the other factors where that theory gets disproved are not being brought in by you. So I would think, as much as you have things to say, these are the basis on which I am asking this question. If you've lost out on demographic dividend, I have equally and more things to say where we are doing things for benefiting from the demographic dividend. But I think we are at a critical stage in this analysis, in that for the next, say, 10 years, you will still have this dividend, which has to be more and more encouraged, facilitated, and given opportunities, so that we actually see the results sometime afterwards. So this, at this point in time, it is, I think, hunker down, get going with a lot more things where you can give the benefit for the generation which is waiting for it, and so on, rather than already look back and say, oh no, I've not done much, which means I've lost it. No way. We are at the, it's like I'm not so good in cricket. In a T20, it is like being on the 7th over. We have still some overs to go, and more than 7 overs to go.
We are running out of time, so we will wrap up this interactive session. Moving on, may I now request
Give him.
Jan, madam. Madam, I and my brothers and sisters of IIT Bhubaneswar want to know that why the government starts and runs an institute of national importance like IITs without proper or adequate infrastructure, lecture halls, lab rooms, playgrounds, convention center, etc. for the youth of India.
Yeah, say, complete your question.
For example, IIT Bhubaneswar, madam. Why not after completing the entire institute infrastructure? After studying for almost 2 academic years, madam, I think it affects the learning, understanding, and overall growth of youth of India. Why it happens?
Well, it's a very popular question, I can see. And good that you raised your hand to ask this question. See, the question is, it's not the intention of anybody to get you to come and study in an institution without infrastructure. Between 2008 and 18 or 16, when it was inaugurated, 18, right? Was it inaugurated? Work wasn't progressed well. But having brought an institution, announced it, it's also not going to help anybody to say, wait, we'll build it all and only then take the first student. It is a difficult decision to make. We could happily say, please, till we finish everything, don't even come here. If you qualify, get into the other IITs, or else I'm sorry, it's not going to happen. Institutions do take a time to get completed. I know it also is a handicap for people who compare with other institutions of similar grade and say, if IIT Mumbai, IIT Madras can have better infrastructure and the students there are better off, we are not. I agree. And I will recall, simple, when I was in JNU, that place didn't even have enough greenery. It used to be hell of a time walking up to the library or to your lecture halls. But I'm talking of simple facilities, and I understand that for science you need a lot more complicated, varied labs and fittings and other equipments in your labs and so on. So I quite understand and appreciate the concern with which you're asking and the concern with which all of you all seem to be in the same page as this person who's asked this question, the student. First year, second year, second year. So it's not the intent at all, and rapidly things are also being brought in so that the change can happen. Be assured it's not an intention to run an IIT with no facility in it. On the contrary, IITs with good facilities are the ones which all of us want, and that's what we're working towards. You just compare the numbers of IIT earlier. If I'm right, you had only about 7 IITs till about 2014, and subsequently rapidly IITs are being built in, and that is where you have this mismatch. An IIT, we've seen the best of ones which have been there for the last 50-60 years, and now newer ones which also should have that much cannot have it overnight. It'll take some time, but money is not a constraint. You be sure of that. And you can take my word seriously on money, no?
Thank you, ma'am, for answering that question. We will now wrap up this interactive session because we are on a strict schedule over here. May I now request our director to felicitate the chief guest with a memento. Moving on, it's time to propose the vote of thanks. May I request Professor Pravas Ranjan Sahu, Chairman of the Organizing Committee, to kindly come forward and deliver the vote of thanks.
Dear all, Namaskar. It was an interesting session, interactive session with you by our Minister of Finance, Nirmala Sitharaman ji. She pointed out different policies of government to address these important points of the topic, that is youth and innovation. She stressed on the startups, focus of the startup. So hope all of you will be benefiting out of this. And further, her response to your queries with prudence was mesmerizing. So let us, you join with me to thank Madam Nirmala Sitharaman ji for giving a time this afternoon with us, and that was a wonderful presentation to us, and we will be remembering forever. Thank you, ma'am. Let me thank our Director Sir, Professor Sripad Karmalkar ji, who has been guiding us in every requirements to make this type of events to happen with success. Thank you, sir. Let us thank our registrar, Sri Devraj Rath ji, who has been also guiding the administration, who has been providing all the supports to make these kind of functions to happen whenever we come to celebrate all this. I also thank our different administration, security, horticulture, and all other wings, those who have given their timeless effort to make this program to happen, and it became a success. Thank you all. Namaskar. Jai Hind.
With this, we come to an end of today's program. We will now play the national anthem. I request you all to please rise.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता, पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तब शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे.
Thank you everybody for joining us here today. Have a nice day.